Good evening, all of you, and thank you for joining us today. This webinar has been organized by Money Life Foundation. We are a 10-year-old nonprofit, and our primary goal is to spread financial literacy and help address a wide spectrum of issues that affect us as the customers. So now more than ever, it has become really important to consider making a will to appropriation your assets. And to speak on that, we are very privileged to have with us Advocate S.D. Israni, who's here to explain the finer details that is involved in the process of preparing a will. Dr. S.D. Israni is the founder and senior partner of S.D. Israni Law Chambers and also an advocate of the Bombay High Court. He's been a lawyer for more than 47 years and specializes in corporate, business, and securities law. He has authored over 6 books and 900 articles, which have been published in leading economic and financial newspapers and journals. And he's also been a member of the SEBI Committee on Compliances and is also represented as a public director on the board of Interconnected Stock Exchanges of India Limited. So without taking too much of your time, I'd like to spell out a few ground rules that all of us have to strictly adhere to. So one is we've kept all of you on mute during the session so that the entire focus is on the speaker and the speaker alone. For optimal viewing, I request all of you to keep your webinar on speaker view. This entire meeting is being recorded and it will also be uploaded on a YouTube channel, Money Life TV. During the question and answer, my request is please use the raise hand button option available in Zoom if you wish to pose any questions. Also, please note your homes and your backgrounds are visible to all of us. So if you wish to protect your privacy, then keep your cameras switched off. So now without taking too much of your time, I would now request Advocate Israni to take us through his presentation. So sir, over to you.
Thank you, Arvind. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can I have the first slide?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Friends, at the outset, let me thank Money Life Foundation for giving me this opportunity to share my views on a very important subject. And in any case, Money Life Foundation has been doing a wonderful work in the field of investor education and creating investor awareness. I think we should be grateful that we have people like Sushita and Devashish and the team of Money Life Foundation doing human service for the community. Today, it is my privilege to be sharing few thoughts with you on the making of a legal will and also in respect of nominations where there are lots of issues involved. And nomination has no more remained a simple nomination. Let's go to the first slide. He that does not know those things which are of use and necessity for him to know is but an ignorant man, whatever he may know besides. Now, how well this brings out the situation where we know a lot of things. It's like garbage in computer parlance, garbage in, garbage out. We become so many things, information, knowledge, but how much is relevant? And how much relevant knowledge do we have? For example, you want to buy an apartment. What is the information you should be having? What is the knowledge you should gather to make a proper deal? Similarly, you want to make a will. What is the information you should be having with you? How you should go about it? How many of us really bother to know that? And otherwise, at the same time, we'll be talking about what is happening in US, what is happening in China, what is happening in so many other places. So what is happening in my house, am I aware? What is happening to my own property, am I aware? What are the pitfalls involved? What are the BMC rules saying? How the builder is taking for a ride, am I aware? Just booking an apartment is not enough. We have to know a lot of things. Like when I was buying an apartment once, somebody advised me, go there in the evening, late night, and then get a view of the surrounding, get a feel how it is. Similarly, there are many such small tidbits. When we'll go further, we'll realize that how ill prepared we have been, many of us, when it comes to preparing a will. Next. At death, those heirs that seem the saddest, behind the mask may be the gladdest. Today it is a season of mask, but mask has always been there in mankind. Only thing they have to be unmasked, know the real face. And relatives who appear to be very close. There's a fact of life. It's not blaming a particular individual or a family. That's how the mankind is. That the people who seem to be sad are saddest. Maybe the gladdest because they expect some bounty coming their way. Therefore, don't get unduly carried away. Don't feel unduly depressed. Life is all about swimming through the ocean. Next. There's no reason to be the richest man in the cemetery. You can't do any business from there. Other day I was attending a program where somebody said that as human beings, we keep on trying to earn till the last day. Knowing jolly well, can't carry a pin also, but at the same time, want to keep on earning till the last day. Now, money is important, nobody denies that. But money by itself is not important unless proper use is made. Beyond a limit, money can become a curse also. Unless it is, money is giving an opportunity, a power to make use. For example, to fund institutions like Money Life Foundation, such other NGOs, money can do a lot. That's why this particularly is a tendency in the Western countries, where normally parents don't leave all the wealth for their children. They leave a portion of the wealth and the rest goes to charity. Whereas here in India still we are yet to learn that as such. And when it says you can't do any business from there in the cemetery, perhaps the hope is there that suddenly one may wake up and get up in the cemetery, do the last deal before taking off. But that is only mere imagination. Next, we all live under the same sky, but we don't all have the same horizon. That is true. It varies from person to person, family to family. As they say, नजरिया बदलो नज़ारे बदल जाएंगे, कश्तियां बदलो किनारे बदल जाएंगे. So it is all about how you perceive things, how you look at things. Almost all of us know that we are on a journey which sooner or later will end. But nobody knows when. Although many of us tend to believe that others may be dying, I am here to live. And finds difficult to believe that he will be dying. Let me share with you a real life example, because we read a lot of cases in the newspapers. Accidents happening, young man, old woman, old man dying, and so on. But when it's your own family, then one realizes. Like it happened to my own sister, quarter century back, more than that. Suddenly she suffered from pneumonia. My elder brother, doctor, well connected, and we couldn't save her. In a matter of days, she was gone. Similarly, another incident which comes to mind, a cousin sister. After marriage, she has one baby, girl, child. Second baby, girl child. Third baby, girl child. Fourth baby was a boy, baby boy. Family was so thrilled, they were crazy. And my brother-in-law, young man, was traveling on a scooter. It is a story of Jhansi, real life story. In Jhansi, he went to his friends' places to distribute sweets. It was the afternoon time. While returning around 1:30, he was hit by a truck. He became unconscious, was rushed to hospital. On 14th day or 15th day, he passed away. Imagine, no insurance, no will, nothing, and he was part of a joint family. But his wife didn't know what to do. Because he thought he's a young man. There's the urgency to make a will. Will is made by old people who have a long life to live. I am still very young. So friends, we all know time and tide waits for no man. We know that it is certain, as they say in life, only two things are certain: death and taxation. taxation is something which no government is going to forego. We only passed the date for installment day before yesterday. So taxes are always behind us, dodging us. So also is death, except for the date. In taxation, date may be known. In death, date is not known. So let us try to have a same horizon and a proper perspective. Next. Now, there was a time when there was no will. In the sense, a legal declaration. One could always write and give it as law. That would be the wish rather than a will. Now here let me share a real life story with you all. An elderly relative of mine one day asked me he wants to make a will. I said, fine. He gave me the information, made a draft. Few months passed away. Again he called me, revised the draft. Like that, 5 years, yes, 5 years passed away. And then after 5 years, finally, he finalized the draft. So he fixed the date for execution of the will. Then he said some other excuse and evaded executing the will. Then again few more months passed. Like that 7 to 8 years passed away. And his problem was that he had a fear the day he will execute or sign the will, he will die soon. The tragedy is that today also he is alive, 93 years old. He is very much alive but certainly not kicking with all the ailments. And his wife also alive with all the ailments. So there is no need to have fear. Will would have brought death. That would have been the cheapest way for many people. But it has nothing to do with that. So we have to be very careful not to get too emotional and fail to take a decision at the appropriate time which we ought to be taking. Then some people are under the impression that will is supposed to be only for rich people, wealthy people. Those who have a lot of wealth, they have to worry about the will. I don't have to worry. I have only one apartment. I have only little provident fund. I have only little gratuity, etc., etc. That is not true. Everybody has something other that is his property or her property. What is the value of the property is a separate issue. Because the important thing is, what does the will do? Will takes a direction from the maker of the will, giving direction as to how his property or her property should be disposed of, which will take effect only after death. So that during lifetime, will does not impact the life of the maker or the testator as it is called. So there is no need to be afraid. It helps you to plan. Because remember, making a will is a part of estate management or estate planning. And that is very important. And sooner the better. Next. Yeah, this is a technical definition of the word will. And now I'll be giving few technical words for better understanding. Please have a look at it. The legal declaration of the intention of the testator. The legal declaration of the intention of the testator with respect to his property, which he desires to be carried into effect after his death. Now, what does the will do? First of all, it is a legal declaration, which means making any statement by itself does not amount to a will. Although I may say this is my will, but the will itself does not represent the legal requirements. Will itself does not amount to a legal declaration, then it will not be a valid document. Less is still, it will not be a document also. Then it can be called it was a rough writing which had no legal sanctity. So legal declaration of the intention of the testator. The testator is the owner of that property. The person who is going to execute the will, it is his intention Because it is his property which matters. Nothing else in the world matters. Because after all, a testator cannot give anything which does not belong to him. He cannot dispose of something which does not belong to him. Just because he is sitting on a bench in a garden does not mean he can gift away that bench or dispose of that bench to somebody. Like that, he goes to a restaurant and sitting in the air-conditioned atmosphere there, he cannot take away the furniture of the restaurant and dispose of. The simple point is that the property, and today the scope of word property also has widened. Earlier, immovable, movable we knew. Now, apart from tangible, intangible properties are playing very important role. Intellectual property rights. You might be a scientist, you might be a businessman, you may be having patents, trademarks to your account, and that has commercial value. Then there are animal lovers. What happens to the animal? Then there could be a soldier or a Navy man, Air Force, and those won awards. What happens to the award after the death? To whom it goes? Who will take care? What care the winner of the award takes? No one else is going to bother. In fact, worse still, it may be sold off in Radhi because nobody is interested. So therefore, today, tangible property is important without doubt, but intangible property, intellectual property rights, then animal lovers, they may have dog is a normal, so many other animals, but not everybody loves animals. So who will take care? During your lifetime, you can identify somebody, and that is not possible, then always some NGOs specializing in taking care of the strays and other dogs or other animals, they can provide for in the will that after my death, this should go to so and so. So that it is whatever he desires to be carried into effect after his death is same, that what belongs to him, what is owned by him, whether it is partial ownership, joint ownership, co-ownership, then mention the fact in that that I am a co-owner or a joint owner to the extent of 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, whatever the actual percentage, so that later on, after death, it is translated into action. And one more important issue which arises from will, I told you what you can apply and what should be carried into effect. But there are situations where some people are more concerned in what should not go to any relative. Sometime back, one of my clients consulted me, one of the wealthiest in the country. His point was that whatever under my will may go to anybody, but should not go to my family. Then he realized, he said, I mean, apart from my wife, son and daughter, it should not go to any member of the extended family. Let it go to beggars. Let it go to charity homes, but not to my family. So the will helps you do that also. That when you made your intention very clear, that intention, one may call it negative, whatever, we cannot be judgmental. It is not my job to be judgmental. It is my job to create awareness, bring to your attention the consequences of a situation. So here, the will was carried that the testator wanted no relative should get anything except my immediate family. So let me read further one last time before we proceed further. The legal declaration of the intention of the testator with respect to his property, which he desires to be carried into effect after his death. Next. Now, one question often comes up: when should we make the will? At what age we should make a will? How often we should make a will? What happens if we don't have a will? After all, there have been disputes even when there is a will. Talking of disputes, let me share with you, which many of you may be aware also. A major dispute in respect of will of Priyam Vandana Birla. Priyam Vandana Birla, part of the huge Birla clan. She had property worth as per her will 5,000 crores. And she very clearly provided that the entire property under the will shall go to her financial consultant and auditor, Mr. Lodha. 5,000 crores worth property, entire property to go to the chartered accountant who was her advisor as well. Seeing this, the Birla clan was shocked. They couldn't believe that such a wealth of the group will go away to the outsider. Perhaps the relations were such. They got together, they moved all the courts wherever competent jurisdiction was there. But the ultimate result was that they failed. Mr. Lodha, the auditor, he succeeded. Successfully, he took charge of the properties. Today, he is no more alive. The properties are taken care by his son. It is one of those rare cases where a massive chunk, huge amount of property goes to an outsider. So as I was telling you a few minutes back, that sometimes situations arrive where the owner, the testator, says nothing should go to my relatives. This is a classic case, public knowledge, very widely covered in the newspapers over the years till it was before the courts, till finally it got the seal from the Supreme Court of India. So the question arises, when do you change the will? How often you should change? Well, theoretically, technically, you can change the will not only every day, but every hour or every minute. But that will be stretching it a bit too far or ridiculous. So it's only academic interest. Normally, you are expected to alter your will when some significant changes have taken place since the will was executed. Although, even if you don't carry out a change, there will be a clause called residuary clause in the will, which means whatever has not been specifically provided will be covered in the residuary clause and will be disposed as per the will. But there are situations where significant changes are taken place and you want those to be specifically mentioned. Now, when you don't want to change the will, you don't want to make a new will, but you want to change a paragraph in the will or add a paragraph in the will, which means not a substantial change, but at the same time important enough to be reflected as a part of the will, then you have to execute a document called codicil. Codicil means an instrument made in relation to a will and explaining, altering or adding to its dispositions and shall be deemed to form part of will. So it is a codicil is always in relation to a will. Once you execute a codicil, it will always be deemed to be part of the will. And it will provide what is the change which is being carried out, explaining, altering or adding to its dispositions and shall be deemed to form part of the will. So this is equally important instrument as the will, because the aspect which is covered by codicil will not be there in the will, because this codicil will be in addition to the original will and it has to be annexed to that so that it has to be read in totality. Therefore, for minor changes, but sometimes the issue is that there is a possibility One may play mischief with codicil, that one paper can be easily changed or anything. So many don't like to execute a codicil unless it is not possible due to various reasons. They want to go for a fresh will. So the earlier will stand cancelled and new will come into picture. But always these things depend on the facts and circumstances of each case. When we talk in general. Now it is not that each and every aspect will be applicable to each and every testator. So therefore, when individual is making a will, he has to see how much is relevant to his own case. Next. Now, who is a testator? A person who makes his will is a testator. That is, person who is the owner of property, person who is owner of certain rights, person who is owner of tangible property, intangible property, a person who has something concrete which remains here and will survive his death, and he wants to instruct through the modicum of will, he is called the testator. Next. This is very important. The whole object will be defeated if we don't pursue the exact meaning of this clause. Any person who dies without executing, making a will, last will is known as dying intestate. In such a case, the heirs will be governed by the Succession Act or personal law of the deceased. These acts give the order of succession. Let's say the person making a will is a testator. A person dying without making a valid will is said to have died intestate. That is, without any testamentary instrument. Because when a will is made, after death it comes into effect. This is a point we should remember. That will is never effective until the death of the testator. It's only after the death that the will comes into force. So long the person is alive, the will is merely a piece of paper which will become significant only after death. So contrary to death or opposite to testator is intestate. That is a person dying without intestate, without executing the last will. Now, what exactly are the consequences when a person dies intestate? Or in simple language, what are the consequences when a person dies without making a last valid will? It's very simple. First of all, whatever wish the person might have had, his last wish will not be carried out. Secondly, and more importantly, when the person dies without executing such a will, then the succession to the properties of such a person are in the hands of law. It depends on the Indian Succession Act or on the personal laws or respective person who has died intestate. For example, as I was giving a little while ago, that somebody wanted some wealth to go or not to go to certain persons. When a person dies intestate, it will go to those persons which the law provides. For example, Mr. A dies. He has a wife and 2 children. Now, if he dies intestate, then wife and sons will get equal proportion. That's the law says. Suppose he has a mother also alive, then mother also will be entitled for equal proportion. So 4 persons surviving, they will have equal proportion. But if there was a will, then whatever instructions the testator has left will have to be carried out. He may not like to give any property to one son. He may like to give some small part of the property to another son, for whatever reason. As I said, it is not our job to be judgmental. So, intestate gives you a way to ensure that the wealth which you have created during your lifetime, with all the efforts, with all the skill, hardships, is utilized in a proper manner, in the manner in which you desire. By not making a will, and also remember, intention to make a will is not enough. One has to actually make a will. Otherwise, intestate, law comes into picture, and then money can go to people whom you had never envisaged also. Because there it goes as per the succession rules of the respective personal laws. Next. Heir means any person, male or female, who is entitled to succeed to the property of an intestate. Now, because no legal declaration in the form of a will has been left, and as I said, the personal laws come into picture, then there could be many claimants to that property. Everybody believing that he is also a legal heir because his grandfather's brother was this, and therefore he is connected, he is related to that family, so he has a right. So many claimants can come on the scene, which eventually court of law will decide. The point is that life can be made tough for the immediate survival of the family. Property which should have duly gone to them, but because of this one small thing, that the will was not executed, will was not created, no will was made, then the family has also to suffer. Because depending on the nature of the relative, number of relatives, and how good the relationships have been, how new other claims come up, the matter will have to go to court and it will drag there. That's why it is said, where there is a will, there is a way. If there is no will, lawyers will show the way. And lawyers, when you show the way, it will prove more costly, much more costly. So therefore, remember, there could be all unknown persons also who may try to claim. And I say unknown persons who are not exactly relatives, but still claiming to be so, for whom you have to trace them out through the court of law, which means dragging the matter further. Next. So such person are also called legatee, is the person who inherits the estate. Beneficiary could be the legatees under the will who are then provided for a certain benefit and they'll inherit that. Normally it is common that when a will is made, people who have served the testator during the long period, they normally make a provision for that. It could be a close relative, it could be a domestic servant, household help, or it could be a ward boy who has been taking care for years. That is also possible. And it is not uncommon that there they provide. Next. Now, when a will is made and it is provided that this should be carried into execution as per the last will of the testator, who is the person who will carry out all this? It is the executor. Executor means a person to whom the execution of last will of a deceased person is at the testator's appointment confided. How do you get an executor? Is there any class of qualified executors? No. You have to get an executor, a person in whom you have confidence, person whom you can trust. Because although the role of executor is really of a trustee, his or her job is that after the death of the testator, whatever is supposed to be carried out in terms of the will, as per the will, as per the last wish of the testator, in the best interest of the legal health, in the best interest of the legatees. All the beneficiaries should get their due. But does it always happen so? Many times, executors themselves try to become beneficiaries, try to take everything. Sometime back, there was a case before the Supreme Court of India where a will came where the entire property has been disposed of in favor of the executor. Whereas the testator had a widowed daughter and also a son. None of them got anything, or so claimed the executor, saying that the entire property has been disposed of in her favor. And therefore, the lower court, high court, and eventually Supreme Court gave judgment against. But at the same time, it also held that just because executor is also a beneficiary by itself does not amount to something is fishy or the will is ineffective or will should be rejected. But there have to be countervailing circumstances. If there are situations which make you believe that the court of law, that it could not have been the probability, then the circumstances speak for themselves, and it means the executor is taking advantage of the situation. So, a lot of authors have laid stress on this aspect. That one, the executor should be relatively young, relatively in relation to the testator, then having good morals, good principles, so that he will sincerely carry out the wishes of the testator. Because the estate of the testator till it is finally disposed of. Because somebody may ask how long the executor has to be there. In simple language, till the last rupee has been accounted for and paid off to whomsoever it is due under the will. Next. The executor is the legal representative for all purposes of the deceased person. Now, this is very important significance. Many times there is substantial property which takes time to dispose of. There could be litigating property. So normally a separate account is opened in the estate of so and so. And even income tax returns are filed accordingly. Whatever income tax has to be paid, whatever liabilities have to be paid, all those have to be provided for. And therefore, if somebody has to file a suit against the testator, he has to claim, it will be against the legal representative. So legal representative becomes the whole and soul of the property under his control. And sometimes it takes years together. If you have multiple properties in multiple locations with litigation involved in between, a lot of claims and counterclaims, it can go on for years. It is not that execution gets over, testated one day, another 2 days or 3 days, execution can be over. It can be a tedious and long process. Therefore, taking over the responsibility of the executor is an onerous responsibility. there has to be accountability, there has to be transparency, and there has to be responsibility. All this without remuneration, it is done as social service, so to say. Next. When does the administrator comes into play? This is when there is first of all, let us see who is the administrator. Administrator means a person appointed by competent authority to administer the estate of a deceased person, and there is no executor. Now, if there is no executor, who appoints the executor? Or there was an executor who refuses to take charge. Maybe because earlier he didn't realize his onerous task. After he realized that, my God, it's a huge task. I'll have to give time and money also. Later on, he may be able to recover the cost incurred in the context of the execution of the will, whatever has been provided for. But if there is no provision, then he may have to go to court of law and get his expenses. Now the executor may refuse to take charge, or having taken charge, resigns as an executor, or he meets with an accident and is in such a position that he is unable to perform his functions. Then matter will go to court or court of competent jurisdiction, which are relevant authorities there, whether it is the district court or the high court, whatever, and get an executor appointed. And then that executor will have to ensure that the last will is carried out to the last rupee. Next. Now, what is the estate? The sum of all the assets of a person less his liability. Remember this, we always keep on talking about assets. Everybody expects some share in the assets. Everybody, when I say concerned relatives who are entitled or believe they are entitled, they all talk of assets. But what about the liabilities? So it is the net assets which are there. And if liabilities are not honored, then the claimant can go to court of law and enforce his liability. Can you kindly clear the slide is being getting covered? Now go back to the earlier slide. In short, all properties, bank accounts, investments, insurances and collectibles, less the liability of a person, are collectively called a person's estate. So, as I told you a little while earlier, the estate comes into existence after the death, and it may last long in time depending on the nature of the property and the encumbrances which are there. Next. Now we come to a very important item, probate. I'm sure all of you are aware with the term probate, but how and why may be something which we tend to not care much unless we are ourselves faced with it. Probate means a copy of a will certified under the seal of a court or competent jurisdiction with a grant of administration to the estate of the testator. Now, probate in simple language is sealing of the will by a court. Now, there are two things you have to observe. One, that it is the will itself which is certified by the court, and then it is called a probate. But equally important is it has to be certified under seal by a court of competent jurisdiction. It doesn't mean that walk into any court, get a seal done, get it certified, but still it is not a probate. Probate has to be done by court or competent jurisdiction. Once, and it is a long process, let me tell you. Even when there is no dispute, you take it for granted that minimum 6 months to 1 year it will take to get a will probated. Is it necessary to make a probate? Should you? Why should you make a probate and spend money engaging the lawyers, paying court fees? Now, friends, it is not really necessary that in each and every case a will has to be probated. That will again depend on the facts and circumstances of each case. Suppose a testator has left behind only shares and debentures, and you already filed a nomination. There is no need for a probate. Although some companies insist on succession certificate, but that will come to a little later when we see. But when it comes to immovable property, invariably probate will be required, or the will copy probated will be required. But before the probate is issued, the registrar of the concerned court will ask you for the full details, a statement of assets with full details to be given. What are shares, debentures, bonds, properties, description, correct description of the property, adequate description of the properties, and full name of the legal heirs who are there, the legatees, their pet name or their personal names, second name, third name, will not be material. What is their legally they are called by what name has to be mentioned, so that later on there is no room for confusion. And once a probate is granted, then that legal heir or the legatee beneficiary gets the probate of the will, and then he can approach other wherever authority he has to approach to get the will noted, so that the changes which are taken place in the title by virtue of death are noted in the records. And particularly in case of immovable property, the office of the sub-registrar is very material. So the probate gives you recognition to the will, that is, this is actually the last will and testament of the testator. And secondly, power to administer the estate of the testator. So this may be done immediately as soon as possible. And one thing to be remembered is, if there are claimants who lodge counterclaim, whose name doesn't appear in the will, or whose name appears in the will as one of the beneficiaries, but they believe they ought to have got more than what has been provided in the will, they are unhappy, then they also may come to the court. Then in such a case, notice will have to be given, and that will have to be countered by the legal beneficiaries who are the rightful claimants. After all the claims have been adjudicated for or against, then only the probate will be issued. But where there are no counter claims, then normally within 6 months to 1 year, probate will be issued. Otherwise, it can take years. Next. This is a technical definition of the will, which we already did. Next. I found this interesting, so I thought I would share with you all. If you wish to travel far and fast, travel light. Take off all your envies, jealousies, unforgiveness, selfishness, and fears. When making a will, it's not only a legal exercise. Legal exercise it is, but it is also an emotional exercise. I remember one client telling that I don't want to give a rupee to my daughter because she married against my wishes. Or parents having grievance against the son or other family members. Just I narrated to you in a couple of cases how they wanted to give everything to outsiders also, but not a rupee to the family. So here the author says, take off all your envies, jealousies, unforgiveness, selfishness and fears. And then with a calm mind, with a cool mind, decide what you want to do with your property, in what manner you want the disposal to take place. And then accordingly you can do. As I said, here nobody can advise. It has to be your personal will which has to be there. And that is why it is called last will and testament. Next. Now we come down to the actual drafting of a will. What are the requirements of a will? What are the characteristics? When is a will called legally valid and invalid? Just excuse me. Yeah, next. It has to be a legal declaration. What we mean by legal declaration? It means that first of all, the testator is major, not a minor. Then he is of sound mind. Then the will is duly attested by two signatories. Will is duly executed by the testator in the presence of the two witnesses. Unless and it is made out of free will and volition. It is not something which has been forced by somebody on a testator that you provide this for me and that for that. Otherwise, it will not be a legal declaration. So, age, condition of health, execution, and free will and volition. That is very important to make it a legal declaration. If it is not a legal declaration or it is declared so, then it will not be a last will and testament of the testator and it cannot be treated as testate. It will go into intestate. If it is no more a legal declaration, then it will be deemed that the testator has died intestate and accordingly the personal laws will come into play. Next. Now, this is the core of the will, disposition of property. This in my preliminary remarks I explained how today the concept of property is changing, how transparency. Today the concept of property is changing in the sense, old one is there, tangible property is very much there, but today intangible, and there particularly intellectual property rights. Today companies are worth trillions of dollars just on their intellectual property. So therefore, how that has to be given, in what manner, what is the value, whom to be given, that clarity has to be there. And when properties are there, physical properties, tangible properties, proper description, proper nature of the property should be given in their own interests. Next. Death of the testator is the event which makes an ordinary piece of paper into a legal declaration. which is otherwise in consonance with law. So long the testator is alive, he can keep on changing the will, he can keep on changing the codicil, he can destroy the will and create a new will. The moment death takes place, the closure is declared, and then it becomes a will. Whether it will be challenged or not, that future tells. So that is the landmark event which takes place, after which the other real chapter starts of the execution of the will. Next, if will is not revocable, then that characteristic of a will, revocability, that as many wills you want, as many will, every time you can create, as I said, literally. Revocability is the hallmark of the will, one of the pillars. Next, yes, in what language should a will be drawn? Should it be English, Hindi, or regional language? What language should the will be drawn? Will can be drawn in any language. Will should be drawn in the language of the testator. And if it is drawn in a language which is not the language of the testator, then a declaration by him should form part of the will, that he has understood, he has explained the contents, and he has understood, and accordingly he has executed the will. Because a person who can't speak English, doesn't know English, and still the will is made in English, and he has signed it, unless he makes a declaration to that effect that it was explained to him, read out to him, and he has understood, and then he gives a signature as a testator, that it would be held that it was a valid will so far as language was concerned. Next, what is the form or format in which a will should be executed? Mercifully, no form is prescribed, no format is prescribed. It is just the will of the testator, the last will. As the joke used to go, that it could be made on the back of a bus ticket, because after all there is no form or format. Literally it means that any plain paper you take it up and write out your will. What is important is that clarity. There should be no ambiguity. Any ambiguity can hit the intention of the testator to be carried out. So it should be crystal clear. So when it is executed, rather before it is executed, care should be taken to ensure that there is no ambiguity which will hit that will in a manner which testator would not have envisaged also. Next, this is one of the pillars of a will, to make it a legal document, legal declaration. It has to be duly attested. Now here, general thinking is that you should locate for persons who are much younger to you, so that tomorrow they are to be called as a witness. Chance of this are alone. Nobody can say when death takes place. Nobody can say what age is certain, guaranteed age that person will be alive. But the point is, it's a probability, so that it is in your power to take a younger person for attestation, so that tomorrow if dispute arises and witness is required, then the person is available, one who has attested the will. Next, what should be the stamp paper on which a will should be executed, or how much stamp duty is payable on the stamp paper? This is a very often asked question. I recall a case in my own building. One old gentleman, neighbor of ours, walked into my house and told me, Mr. Israni, I want you to make a will for me. What will be the cost of the stamp paper? Believe me, when I told him that it's zero, nothing, he started laughing. He said, I'm serious, no joking. I'm willing to pay whatever has to be paid, or whatever stamp duty has to be paid, I'm willing to pay. When I again insisted, he said, how it could be that crores of worth properties get transferred on a plain paper, where the ordinary agreement costs 500 rupees, and here nothing. Or some agreements cost much more depending on the consideration involved. How can it be so? I had a tough time convincing him. Then he checked up with a couple of persons. They told him they also heard like that. Now then he told me, why you are so insistent it should be on stamp paper? Because this property was to go to, after his death, to his daughter-in-law. And she may not believe that this is a valid document. Why? Because there is no stamp paper. There is no stamp duty. How can it? And India is a country where for everything you end up paying duties and taxes. So how it could be that for crores of rupees, no stamp paper? Eventually, he agreed they will get 100 rupees stamp paper and make the will on that. And I told him, tell your daughter-in-law to check up with a competent lawyer and she'll come to know what is the reality. They don't have to pay any stamp paper or stamp duty. But still, to this day, this misinformation, disinformation or myth, call it whatever you may, continues. That how can it be possible that on ordinary paper? Only thing desirable is that the paper be a court legal paper. Generally it is green paper and thick in quality so that you never know how long this will has to last. And therefore, the paper will last at least that long. Next. This is another question often asked. Is an unregistered will invalid? Is it compulsory, mandatory for a will to be registered? Is a registered will superior to unregistered will? Now let me tell you once for all. Law doesn't provide for compulsory registration. At the same time, it doesn't mean that you cannot register a will. You can does not mean you shall. You can only means you may register if you so desire. Generally, when is the will registered? Generally, disputes are expected and it will be challenged that this is a bogus will. Invariably, where disputes, serious disputes are expected and the veracity of the will itself is challenged. The contents are challenged. In such a case, normally, the testator would like the will to be registered. Because if nothing else, it will prove that on that particular day, the day on which the will was registered, it did come into existence, it was there, very much there as such. And at the same time, let me also clarify. Just because the will has been registered, it does not mean it cannot be changed. The moment you make a new will, registered will becomes old, outdated, of no legal value, except to indicate that at a given time this will was executed and registered. If there are two wills, the latest will survive if it is otherwise meeting the requirements of the Act. So please note, registration is not compulsory and there is a nominal fees to be paid. It has to be registered at the sub-registrar's office and a nominal fees payable. Only the procedure is a big rigmarole. That is the reason. One case comes to mind which I may share with you. Two sisters and one brother. Their mother had a huge apartment in South Bombay over 2000 square feet apartment. And that was the basic item of the will. They wanted it to be registered because the brother had already been given a share. And this apartment has to go to two sisters. They said that their respective husband may gang up and challenge the will and create problem, saying that there never was a will. And therefore it was incumbent on them to get it registered so that future they can show at the given time it was very much in existence. And after that there has been no other will. Next. This was so far as the wills were concerned. Now we go to the topic of nominations. Next. Now nominations are popular in a cooperative housing society, shares and debentures, bank accounts, insurance. Just excuse me. While a lot of attention is paid to the will, not much attention has been paid to nomination and the legal implications of nomination. Nomination normally would mean a person, also called nominator, he nominates somebody, authorizes somebody to be his mouthpiece or entitled person in respect of particular class of asset. Let me first come to cooperative housing society. In brief, I'll tell you, which most of you would be aware, that the Supreme Court has clarified that where there is a valid nomination, society cannot avoid but registering the nomination and transferring the apartment in the name of the nominee. The nominee will get all the rights and enjoy all the benefits arising out of that property. The question is nomination overriding the legal valid will? The real purpose of nomination across classes when it started was to ensure that whether it is a society or a company of shares of which you are holding, or a bank where the bank account is or an insurance company, that they are answerable only to the nominee and they are not claiming or even saying that nominee is the owner or nominee is entitled to rights. Nominee is only a one point center to reply to the society, to the company or to the bank, to the insurance company. But unfortunately, nomination has no more remained a simple nomination. In certain cases, nominee has virtually become a owner. And that happened in the case of shareholding matter, when the matter came before Justice Roshan Dalvi in 2010, popularly known as Kokate's case. Because what had happened was, Companies Act section 109A at that time was amended and the word vested was introduced in the provision. Vested the rights. The court interpreted it as giving all the rights which a legatee may be entitled to. That nomination having been given, validly registered, and it has not been revoked at any stage, then such a nomination is superior to the legal will. Legal claimant, legal beneficiary cannot override if there is a successful nomination. So friends, what I want to tell you is, please don't take nomination very lightly. In 2013, the Companies Act was amended. Now you may have demat shares, your nomination goes through demat route, depository route. You may have physical shares, then you have to give to the company or the guarantee agent. The point is, if you have demat account, only one nomination can be done for that one account. You cannot have multiple nominations. If you want to have more nominations, then they should have more different accounts. Combination of the accounts should be different. And today, that is after 2013, when the Companies Act was amended, the provision very clearly reads, that is section 72, subsection 2 and 3. They very clearly read that notwithstanding irrespective of whatever is mentioned in any other law, and whatever is mentioned in respect of disposition, if there is a valid nomination, then all the rights vest in the hands of the shareholder. And it is treated as superior to the will. So please remember, when you are making a nomination, you are actually creating a will so far as that particular class of assets is concerned. And like a will, this also comes into effect only after the death of the shareholder, or death of the member in society, or death of the account holder, or death of the insurance holder, or when claim arises. Although bank accounts and insurance, the clause of nomination still is simpliciter. In real sense, even Supreme Court has repeatedly said that nominee is a trustee and he is accountable to the real owner, real legal beneficiary of the property. Until then, he has to hold. But the section 72 has changed all that. And that's also Supreme Court has remarked in one of the cases that what has been done, testamentary correction has been carried out through Companies Act, which is not a proper way to go. But because the provision has been amended under the new act, it is very clear the intent of the legislature can be formulated from that it wants this particular provision to act so that there are not too many disputes brought against the company or against the depository. They have to fight against the person who claims the shareholder. So my one request is that whenever you are making a nomination, ensure that nomination is correct and you are knowingly, deliberately, intentionally doing that, conferring the nomination, getting it registered. And later on when you are making a will, please ensure that there is no clash. Otherwise you have filed a nomination in a cooperative housing society for X, and then in the will you have mentioned Y, Z, and then they will be fighting for years. Similarly, shares and debentures, nomination for A, but will talks of B. So please ensure that nomination is done in proper manner, it is validly made, duly registered, and then there is consonance between nomination and the will, and they are not contradictory to each other. Next, that which we acquire with the most difficulty we retain the longest, as those who have earned a fortune are usually more careful of it than those who have inherited one. This, of course, I found it appropriate that it happens when you make your millions with your hard work, you hold it for long. But those who get it easily, that's a different story. Next. Remember, what you possess in the world will be found at the day of your death to belong to others. But what you are will be yours forever. So it's better what it calls when as a make something of the society, something good, positive, that will always be remembered. A crushed flower always gives fragrance. So that is the thing. With that, friends, next, thanks to all of you for patient hearing. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you for that, sir. Uh, Thanks a lot. It was a really detailed presentation. So before we take any questions from the audience, there were a couple of questions that we have received. So I'll just share them with you. So one question we have received is, how can you establish the authenticity of a will? So what if someone submits a forged will with the testator's signature copied exactly? So is there a system through which you can establish the authenticity of a will?
See, you'll have to prove that the will is not proper. You'll have to contact the forensic department.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir. And the next question that has come up is, so you've been in this profession for a really, really long time. So one of our members has asked, what is your expectation from the estate taxes that are being introduced in India?
Sorry, second part I didn't get it.
What are your expectations from the estate taxes that are being introduced in India?
Let us thank God so far it has lasted without tax. Let us not call them back. See, estate duty was very much there. And there were always hue and cry. Wealth tax as well as estate duty. Then government carried out a survey and found out the expenditure on recovering estate duty was more than the estate duty paid itself as such. So I think government will be wise and ease of doing business, ease of living we are talking. That should not be coming back, I suppose. Although you can never be sure about any government.
Okay. Thank you for that, sir. The other question that I have is, how can one set up a living will instructions given that the government of India has no legislation for its recognition?
No, there is the Indian Succession Act is there. Special
Ma'am,
marriage.
yeah, ma'am, you had raised your hand. Sorry.
Can I just answer that, Mr. Srani? I think when they talk about living will, it is really about how people want to die and, medical related issues, and it's not got to do with property. So that doesn't have legal sanction as yet in India, but there are a lot of people who advocate the living will. This matter has gone to the Supreme Court in the case of that nurse who was admitted. It's part of the right to die, how you die. So you can make a living will, which is really essentially for your family to know whether you want to be kept on life support, whether you want to be a vegetable or not, whether you want life support pulled out. But it doesn't really have much of legal sanctity today.
That is true. There is a demand, there is a section which is strongly advocating. Then there are counter argument, ethics, morality, and then something fraud also can be played. So there are both the views which are there, but there is no legal sanctity as such.
Okay. Thank you. We'll take a question from the audience. Ms. Sangeeta Sapra, can you please unmute yourself? And ma'am, my request is to keep your question really precise and to the point. We won't be able to give you another chance. Ms. Sangeeta, can you hear us? Okay, I think she's...
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, we can hear you. Yeah.
I'm talking on her behalf. I'm her husband. Who is the competent authority for attestation of the will?
That depends on the location where one is staying. But district court, high court can be there as such. Now, attestation, you're talking of the execution of the will, that any person can be there who's major sound mind. Because you're talking of attestation, right?
I think she's gone on mute. But if you could generally answer that question, then that will be helpful, sir.
See, attestation normally known persons will be taken and generally they will come forward. Unknown person, you cannot ask him to attest. Even if you ask, he is not going to attest it. So generally from the friend circle or relation circle or your doctor, although doctors prefer to give a certificate rather than attestation.
Okay. Thank you for that, sir. So, Miss Anu G, can you please unmute yourself?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I have two questions. One, that if you're a grandchild and your name doesn't figure in the will, can you raise or can you legally ask for a share as a grandchild?
See, only in respect to ancestral property, one may be
Yes.
able to raise. But otherwise, it is a testator. If it is his own property, then it is for him to decide. And if it is dies intestate, then yes, depending on the tree, issues can raise.
Issues can be raised.
Depending on the facts of the case.
Oh, okay. So, all right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that, sir. Mr. Dilip Modi, I think this is in follow-up with your question that we've already answered. So I think we have to move on to the next one. So there's a question that we've also received on our mail. The question is as follows. If earlier will is registered and now the executor either desires to execute a new will altogether or to modify the earlier one by way of codicil, in that case, is it necessary that the subsequent will or codicil required to be compulsorily registered?
And first of all, executor has no power to make a will. It is the testator who makes the will. And once you register a will, doesn't mean that every will you change, you have to register. No, it is your choice.
Okay. Thank you for that, sir. Mr. Sai Kumar, can you please unmute yourself?
Hello.
Yeah,
Can you
yeah.
hear?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Is probating necessary or essential to enforce any will? Suppose it's a very simple case. Can the beneficiaries or legatees resolve it themselves without probating?
See, if immovable property is involved, then invariably property is required. But if immovable property is not there and still the concerned parties ask for, then it will not be a probate. You can get letters of succession, letters of administration from the court.
Okay, in case of shares and
Yeah, movables.
Okay.
Because much depend on the party. If you are settling and there is no issue, no third party comes into play, then issue may not arise. But if, for example, any government agency, they can insist that we want a probate or letter of administration, we don't recognize this will. That is the point.
Okay. Thank you for that, sir. Unfortunately, we have way too many questions and we won't be able to answer all of them. So we're going to have to wrap it up with this. A lot of you have raised your hands. A lot of you have shared your questions in the comments. We won't be able to get to them, all of them at the same time. So what I would instead suggest is if you could drop us an email on foundation@moneylife.in. That's our official email ID. My colleague will share that in the comment. So if you could drop us an email to foundation@moneylife.in with your queries, we'll be able to send you a draft of the will formats. Also, second thing is you get subscription to Money Life. You become a member. And once you become a member, you get intimation of all our events, all our webinars, seminars, and everything. So you stay up to date on that. Also, in this call, we also have Mr. Vimal Punmia, who's hosting another webinar for us in the coming week on an equally important topic, keeping in mind the Hindu undivided family and the property rules on that. So please do log into that webinar as well. Hi, sir. Thank you for joining us today as well, sir. Thanks a lot for that.
Thank
And
you.
in case a lot of you have also asked us questions about making a living will, so please do write to us on foundation@moneylife.in, and we can send you a format and a link to our seminar on this. And you can also check out our YouTube channel, Money Life TV, for the recording of this webinar. So I think with this, I'm going to have to wrap up the webinar today. Thanks a lot, Israni sir, for this wonderful webinar. It was a very detailed presentation. So I think you've covered a whole range of topic with this. And thanks a lot, all of you, for joining us today as well. So I think Sucheta ma'am just wanted to share a word on this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Israni. This is a wonderful presentation again after a really long time. And since the subject is so important, we've had 2 sessions. We're really happy to have Advocate Vimal Punbia here as well. Lots of questions are on property, so we're looking forward to that session too. Thank you everyone for attending.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Good evening.
Vimal is an old friend.